Welcome to News Politics. On the morning of January 6, 2021, aides for former President Donald Trump had done all they might to arrange him for what would become the foremost eventful day of his presidency. Before we continue, please support us by clicking on the subscription button and turn on the notification bell for more reliable updates. Regular to talk before thousands of his most loyal supporters, Trump had been warned of the potential for violence and of the weapons some were probably carrying. He remained convinced of a conspiracy to rig the election against him. When some among his inner circle confided, there was very little proof to support it. Nor was there something that might be done to overturn the election he'd lost. One thing his lawyer General William Barr had told him prior to the day the vote was set to be certified. Stepping to the stage, Trump was provided with a carefully worded script to air his grievances and speak to a crowd of demonstrators who believed his claims the election and his presidency had been purloined from them. His script urged protesters to demonstrate peacefully, with the acknowledgement they'd already planned to advance the U.S. Capitol. He was to ask them to be nice. And he was to avoid criticizing specific public officials. With the sole names mentioned population, he was to give thanks for standing up for him. But as documents free on show, Trump paid those words very little mind. In keeping with transcripts released by the January 6 House Committee over the weekend, Trump departed considerably from that script, ad-libbing thousands of words in an address to the masses. He railed against his enemies. He escalated pre-written, dishonest talking points concerning the validity of the election into clear falsehoods. And, in unplanned comments, he told his supporters to fight like hell to stop an important function U.S. democracy from taking place. The transcript of his speech and therefore the changes he'd created to the remarks that were ready for him have since become a central side of the case against Trump, raising new questions about whether or not he by choice wanted to incite a mob against the U.S. government. Though Trump and his attorneys have declared that his comments that day were just metaphor, proof of what Trump knew before his speech, paired along with his unscripted remarks, might facilitate build a case Trump not solely knew of the potential for violence, however actively pursued it. Outrageous political speech is an American tradition, absolutely protected by the primary amendment. Ken Paulson, director of the Free Speech Center at Middle Tennessee State University and former editor-in-chief of USA Today, told Newsweek in an email. The key to prosecution is whether or not Trump directed the crowd to involve in at-hand violent conduct. The January 6 committee findings give appreciable proof that he did, Paulson wrote. Namely, within the revelation Trump urging the crowd to fight like hell was spontaneous and not a part of the first script, and that it came when Trump had at first been suggested of the probability for violence. It came after the key service advised him that several in the crowd were armed and not willing narrow through the magnetometers, Paulson added. He knew he was telling an angry and armed audience that they required to travel to the Capitol, meant to affix them there, and once that didn't happen, he refused for hours to do something to curb the violence. That away cry from simply a fiery speech. Words don't seem to be protected as free speech if they're part of a criminal act. Before the script release, some have argued prosecuting Trump for what he might have meant by his remarks could set a difficult precedent for Americans' protections below the primary amendment. Professional Jonathan Turley, who had served as a witness in two separate legal instrument trials, warned against the risks of victimization Trump comments from the podium because the basis for incitement charges shortly when the events of January 6, writing for The Hill in February 2021, that Trump remarks didn't match up to the check established underneath the landmark free speech case Brandenburg v. Ohio, when the Supreme Court declared advocacy of the utilization of force or of law violation is protected unless it's imminent. Trump did not imply use of force, wrote Turley. He told supporters to travel peacefully and to cheer on his allies in Congress. He recurred that after violence erupted and told population to respect and adapt the police. His own words rather than those his aides wrote for him argue otherwise. Transcripts free over the weekend, Paulson argued, incontestable that Trump put aside most of his ready remarks and mostly improvised, ostensibly mocking his own aides' advice to stay peaceful. "We wish to be so nice," Trump aforementioned at the time. "We want to be so respectful of everybody, as well as dangerous people. And we're planning to have a fight much harder. We fight like hell," he concluded. "And if you don't fight like hell, You're not going to have a country anymore. The case should not be open and shut. However, given the proof provided by the January 6 committee, prosecution currently looks a lot of realistic should the Biden administration Department of Justice be ready to pursue it under a Republican Congress. Yes, Trump delivered ready remarks urging population to march peacefully and patriotically, but that virtually not a get-out-of-jail card if the elements for prosecution are proven, Paulson wrote. Where prosecution once appeared impractical, if not impossible, the January 6 revelations have now created it a minimum of plausible. Thanks for watching. Let us know your view in the comments section below.